Hi everyone, in this video I'll be talking about how did I transition from working in finance over to working in digital marketing. And there are tools I picked up along the line that I felt were pretty much useful and I would like to share it with you. Now just a little bit of background about my career transition and how it started was, at the age of 16 or 17, I went to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within seminar over in Singapore. And I was very impressed. I learned a lot from Tony Robbins. I think he's one of those incredible people in the personal development industry that has done very well for themselves and added a lot of value into people's lives. I realized that I wanted to get into the sort of education/personal development industry, but at the time I did not know how would I get into the industry. Was I going to be a soft skill trainer or more of a technical trainer? So I wasn't sure at the time, and also my dad works in the training industry line teaching import-export documentation rules to importers, exporters and bankers. So I was pretty much exposed to the training industry from a very young age, but then I didn't know how would I sort of like get into the industry. So I kind of shelved the idea and then went along with uni, studied accounting, corporate finance in uni. Then at the third year I realized that maybe a career in finance may not be my thing. However, I got my job opportunity to work for an audit company, Big Four accounting firm, and then moved on to the finance role. And then I realized that while I do really enjoy the analytical aspects of those jobs itself, I realized that, if I don't pursue this idea I have in my head, then, when will I ever get a chance to pursue it? So I then moved on to work with my dad in his training company, and then I started picking up things like content creation and sort of getting my feet wet with learning about digital marketing. Now, when I was working with my dad, I realized something that was very interesting. Number one, if I wanted to teach exactly the technical things that he taught, I would have to go to a bank and start my career pretty much from scratch again and sort of get certification and then be able to teach what he's teaching right now. And the second thing I realized that in the training industry, one problem that all trainers have is that they have the problem of filling up the room. Meaning, when they want to train something, they still have to do a lot of marketing effort in order to get students and clients into the room, and therefore they can teach them. So I realized that, if marketing is a sort of a number one problem when it comes to the training industry, then the most interesting skill set I can pick up at this point would be marketing, and more specifically digital marketing. So then I rewrote my resume again, and the first tool I found that was very important during this career transition was Ramit Sethi's resume video. I think you guys can Google it or YouTube it. It's there. And basically the gist of the video talks about when you have a resume, you should highlight who you are, what skills you have, what sort of job experience you have, and what is your achievement in those job experiences. And you should be crafted very carefully and very succinctly to your employer. So Ramit Sethi said that his resume was pretty much like a one-pager that talked about the things that he had done for his previous employer. And he made a very important note during this video saying that when you write, you have to be able to flesh out the things that you have done, and also you must be able to flesh out the achievements that you have done in your career. Now you see that most people, when they write resumes, they write, okay, what was your previous position, what was the roles and responsibilities, and that is all fine. But nowadays, when people hire people look to their resumes to see that how can someone that is coming from a certain industry is better than the rest of the candidates, has done more, has saved the company money, has cut down costs for the company. Now people want to see that in resumes. So at the point I rewrote my resume and then subsequently got a job offer with Success Resources, which is a events management company dealing with personal development live events. So they run seminars, they run mega live events about from 1,000 plus to more than that amounts of people coming for that live seminar. So when during my stint with Success Resources, I got into social media management and content creation, which is a part of digital marketing industry. So then I realized that based on those experiences and based on my personal observation when I worked within the company itself, I managed to figure out a lot of things I wanted to know about the personal development industry, the training industry, And I was very grateful for the opportunity, because I feel that in the company itself, I had access to attend events, because we were in a marketing position, we were allowed to sort of attend the events and crew for those events. After a year of doing social media management, content creation, I wanted to expand my career and my skill set as well. And then I decided to go into paid advertising. Now, at the time, I had sent my resumes to a lot of agencies and I wasn't getting a lot of responses. And I realized that what the main factor that was probably making this career transition a lot harder was, number one, I didn't have much paid advertising experience. Number two, my prior work experience was mostly in finance. And I only had about 2 years working with my dad, and then 1 year working in social media management and content creation for a event management company. So those odds were sort of stacked up against me, and that was when I learned the second tool. Now, the second tool, means that get someone to help you write your resume. And by that, I mean someone in the HR industry, and I think there are companies out there that offer resume writing services. Now, the decision why I decided to get a resume writing services, not so much for the person to help me polish out my resume, but more because the person that I hired, they had like a 1 hour phone call in the sense that this person that's writing my resume would talk to me, and we sort of had this kind of career discussion, like, okay, where is it that I'm good at? What certain skills I've picked up, and what certain skills do I need to pick up so that I can quickly get the job that I want to, and 2 to 3 years down the line, where do I see myself and how can I position myself for any career changes down the line. Now, I'd hired this company, and we pretty much had a phone call with my resume writer, and I sort of prepared a list of questions before getting this call, because I know that, this 1 hour call, I can maximize it, and I asked her a lot of questions. What are the things right now that I need to pick up in to be good at, so I can get a job in a paid advertising position? Where is this digital marketing industry heading to? What's the next wave that's coming across? And for my next career transition, whether I will move up or laterally, what can I do? What sort of skill sets do I need to have so that I can position myself for better job opportunities and a career progression? So she shared with me her thoughts, and also I sort of did my own research. And at a point in time, I realized that what is so important about getting someone to write your resume is not just someone writing a resume. Especially when someone who is working in the HR industry, this person has access across what is currently right now being demanded in the market space in terms of talent. And this person is able then to sort of share with you their overall perspective across what is hot in demand right now, what are people looking for, their connections for sure, and also give a very realistic picture of where you should go in terms of your career progression. And yes, you can ask them questions. Now, most people tend to ask their career advice sometimes from their friends, their family, and these people may not be even in the industry that you're working for right now, or even in the industry that you're trying to aim towards. So the career advice that they give you sometimes may be governed by their own biases, their own perception, their own opinion, and worst of all, they don't even work in the industry that you want to aim to get into. So I feel sometimes it's pretty great to always get in touch with a company that writes resumes, and more importantly, if the person that's writing your resume is actively in the HR industry and is a job hunter and sort of has a good picture of what the industry that you want to get into is currently looking for or moving towards, it's definitely, I think, one of my top advice is to get someone in the HR industry to help you write your resume. Now, the third tool I found to be very interesting in helping me in my career transition was to get mentorship and to get advice from someone who's also made their own career transition as well. Now, I've been following this lady called Ingrid Delamar Kenny on Instagram, and I used to follow her for her fitness content and the fact that she has her own fitness company. Now, when I realized that she used to work in a fashion industry, and then she made the transition over the fitness industry. When I got a mentoring opportunity with her, I realized that was the crux of what I wanted to learn. How did she make the transition from the fashion industry over to the fitness industry? And she shared with me was that when she was working in the fashion industry, she was as assistant stylist to Patricia Field, who works for the Sex and the City costume design. And she shared with me at the time the fashion industry, she could see there was a lot of changes going on in the fashion industry. At the time, bloggers and influencers were starting to get much more prominent and a little bit much more influential in the fashion industry. And then she decided to make an exit and then sort of pivot to another industry. Now, she also shared with me at the time, she was a single mom and she had 3 kids to look after. And then she also said that, she would sometimes advise people if they're making a transition from one area to another area, sometimes to just keep their day jobs, and at the night time or whenever they are free to sort of spend a lot of time working on a side hustle. Now, I find that this advice to be pretty much practical because a lot of people on internet will sometimes say that you should just dump everything and chase your dreams. But what happens to the practicality of real today, day-to-day life when you have people that have financial commitments or they have, people that depend on them financially? So she shared with me that how she used to create this website for a new fitness company. And she would every single day, she would look at it. And at that time, she was working on a day job. And then she'd keep a day job, but every night or every time she would get the opportunity to work on a side hustle, she would spend time working on a side hustle. And then she shared with me, this is the kind of mentality that goes unsaid because everybody likes the sort of glamour and sort of the idea of chasing a dream without realizing that sometimes chasing your dream and sometimes transitioning career from one industry to the next may not be as easy, does require hard work, but if you're willing to put in the hard work, you can make it in the industry that you choose to transition to. So she's incredibly successful, and I've seen her the success of her company and how that she always tells her followers, if you have an idea, you always start the idea from somewhere, you hustle, you work hard, you launch quickly, and then you adjust. So this is one of the tools that I realized that when you're contemplating career transition, always seek the advice, always seek mentorship of people that have also made a career transition because they're able to advise you in terms of the mindset, in terms of the attitude that you should be having towards making your own career transition. Now, the 4th tool I learned during this career transition is that be open to listen to somebody from a different industry that has sort of carved an incredible career for themselves. Now, I came across Muid Latif, and he's someone I came across through Instagram. I used to follow him because I love his artwork. I think he's incredibly artist, and also he works with Bank Negara. So one of his talks where he talks about how to sort of craft an incredible career in the creative industry that I attended, he talked about a few things. He talked about his timeline throughout his career, from what age to what age, what job he worked at, and sort of what skills he learned. And then also he showcased, his career progression timeline, and I was pretty much amazed that this guy has been through many phases of his career, and the things he has shared, because I think it's around his 40s, and the incredible amounts of things that he shared throughout his career, what are the skill sets that he needed to master? What was sort of the attitude or the learning that he has gained throughout his years of experience? And not only that, I noticed that he maintains a very interesting organizational way of structuring his portfolio. Now, he has his own website, and later on, I met up with Muid after his talk, and he was incredibly very generous. I asked him, I'm thinking of making this career transition. Is it okay, can I get your slides that you showed to us? Because I feel like it's so incredible the way he has documented his career journey, his skill sets, he's documented the way he organizes his work. Now, during the talk, he shared with us that how he organizes his creative work would be that he documents it in folders online, he keeps it in year by year, he keeps it by month, he keeps it by what sort of medium he uses, whether it's, for example, acrylics or maybe it's digital painting or something like that. And so he'll keep his artwork in a way that makes it easier for him to reference it whenever he needs to reference it, and also to show it. And also, I noticed that when he was giving his talk, I learned a lot of things from him, which was to, as an artist, or actually if you're anybody that is working and wants to craft a brand for yourself in the industry, it's important to maintain an online presence. Now, he has his own website, which he says that is about creating his best work that he can show and that people can access to at any time. Sort of being very active in the industry's community, behind ambassador, and by being constantly, being very involved in your own industry, people get to know you, get to know them, you get to expand your network and things like that. And also the thing where he talked about, I think I came across his resume, which he kind of shared with me, was that he also employed the one-page resume that Ramit Sethi talked about. But I realized about his resume was very interesting was that his resume has so much of skill sets, certifications, awards won, and he's generally able to articulate what he has achieved throughout his entire career in that one page. And the one page is like pretty amazing. And I realized that when we're making a career transition, most of us tend to think about like, crap, like if I make a transition when I'm in my 30s, is it that I have to start from the bottom all over again? How do I get across to what I want? Or maybe a career transition isn't what I'm cut out for. And I realized that career transition sometimes it does require a sacrifice, depending at what age you decided to make the career transition. But at the same time, if you got a lot of experience in different industries before you made a transition, it depends on how you articulate those achievements, how do you articulate your skill sets and convince the person that's reading your resume that you are able to carry those skill sets over to the job that they're going to hire you in. What are the efforts they're doing right now to bridge the gap? For example, let's say, if I stated my resume that I'm learning certain skills on Udemy, I've gotten certain certification. Any step that you take right now to sort of bridge the gap between the industry that you're in right now versus the industry that you want to be in is something that when you demonstrate to the employers, they will feel like you are making an active effort. And I think that end of the day, it's a cutthroat world out there when it comes to finding the job that you want to do and in the industry you want to get into. So every single bit of thing that you can do to sort of push yourself and make yourself better compared to the competitor is something that you should really push forward. And that was something I really learned from Muid. That means that he also shared with us that he has, as an artist, he also has his own Instagram account. And he says that people always ask like what works, what doesn't work. And he said that whenever I post my creative work up, I realize from the comments or even like the amount of likes, and I start to analyze that, okay, this work compared to another work I've done, which sort of gets more audience attention or audience reaction. And from then he sort of synthesizes, he analyzes, and then it helps him within his creative process. I realized that when it comes to making career transitions, sometimes it's important for us to talk to people who belong to different industries, who have carved an incredible career for themselves in their respective industries, because there are things that they have learned, they have acquired, or they have sort of realized in that own industry that we can sort of tap into and sort of siphon out and sort of begin to sort of make it work for ourselves. So that is basically like 4 tools that I've learned throughout my career transition from the finance industry over to digital marketing industry.